Now, this year marks the 30th anniversary for Metroid. But Nintendo, just like for their 25th anniversary of Metroid, they did absolutely nothing for it. It's odd because as much as I love Zelda and as much as, Mario is a classic character that, as far as I'm concerned, they can never make enough games for either of those franchises. It would be nice if they would pay some of their other franchises some attention and love. Like Metroid. It's well loved. There's an entire genre of 2D scrolling games called Metroidvania because they involve, going around picking up upgrades, backtracking, Castlevania and Metroid are hallmarks of
Yeah,
that
it's
genre.
very much like a Legend of Zelda meets Super Mario side scroller kind of feel.
Yeah, because you grow, you get stronger, you get different items and tools to use.
Which, by the way, when you say there are other characters in games that don't have as much love, it made me think Pikmin, and then I was just like, oh yes, they announced another game, which you've probably covered that already.
No,
You
actually,
haven't?
yeah,
Oh.
but I
I don't
wasn't
know enough
planning on
about
it,
that to
but
actually talk about it, but I did hear about that like a little while ago, and I was just like, oh, that's so cool because it's been a while.
it has. Hey, if you play Pikmin, then you know,
Have you ever played it?
um, no, I haven't.
Womp womp.
Yeah,
It's
um,
it looks like a fun game to me though.
it kind of well. To be fair, I never got into real-time strategy games, and that's kind of what it looked like to me, kind of like Nintendo's take on an RTS. But so that's why I never got into it. But it seems like I think the 3DS version is going to be different somehow. I didn't really watch that part of the direct, so I don't know much about it to comment on. Um, but there's been nothing for Metroid, and interesting enough, the creators of Axiom Verge, which is an indie title, which is a Metroidvania style game, it recently launched on the Wii U this month. And apparently, the developers of that game, when they were in talks to bring it to the Wii U, one of the suggestions they had was having an option to make the turn the protagonist into Samus, like and just have that as an option, almost like a skin to play a Samus or something you have to unlock, um, a secret code of sorts. And even there were even some people within Nintendo that really liked the idea. But what did Nintendo do? Shut it down. Um, but yeah, it's just like Nintendo. We've
Good job.
talked about like the fan game that they canceled, another Metroid 2 remake, that they did a DMCA claim against. They did it with, I think it's called No Mario Sky, um, that came out, and it sounds it's exactly what you think it is, just in 2D. Um, they've been really, really aggressively going after anyone who uses their characters.
Oh yeah, they are tight on that copyright stuff, man. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
But even this, like, it's definitely it's not a game that anyone's going to confuse
Mm-mm.
with Metroid, and just the fact that Axiom Verge exists on the other consoles and PC as well. So it would be nice to kind of differentiate it from the other versions by saying, "Hey, on the Wii U, this is the only version that you can play as Samus."
Yeah, I really don't see why they didn't go for this idea.
That'd be an incredible selling point.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and what's even weirder, and this kind of shows the difference between like Nintendo and Sega. Um, Sega has put the Sonic games um, on uh, mobile devices, and Sega has made mobile games to, varying degrees of success. And Nintendo is just now getting into mobile games.
Which we will get to later.
We'll get to later, but they've made Pokemon Go, or, well, they didn't make Pokemon Go themselves.
Wasn't it,
Niantic.
Niantic, yeah, that's right.
But they got the license, and Nintendo made a lot of money.
Obviously, you have to have permission from Nintendo to make a Pokemon game.
There's Miitomo, though. That was their first smartphone game.
Is it like some kind of me thing?
It is.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Like...
No more me's.
Yeah. And I think it was a flash in the pan for a couple of weeks. But nothing like Pokemon Go's mammoth success.
Yeah.
But it just kind of shows you how to my original point. Sega doesn't... Do you know if you use the Sonic Amiibo in Super Mario Maker, you get a little 8-bit version of Sonic to play as?
Oh, yeah, because they got a lot of that kind of stuff in that game where you get the 8-bit characters from the Amiibos. That's really cool.
Exactly, but it's like Sega...
Sega's letting them do it.
It's like, you want to use Sonic? That's great. And I think that's...
Apparently there's a problem with it with Nintendo.
I know, like Nintendo's like, no, we have to make the games. They're ours.
A selfish child.
They kind of are. I mean, this is a bit much here. I don't mind them. Well, with the remake of Metroid 2 that they went after with Matt, I've just discussed, hey, why don't you just like hire these guys, and then you get the game, and then you could put it on your systems and like make it legit and legal, because that's basically what Sonic Mania is. It started out, or it's a fan game of sorts, but sanctioned by Sega. Because Sega realizes, like, hey, these fan games have are just getting bigger and bigger in popularity. Why don't we just commission them to make one for us? Cha-ching! Because people are going to buy that. There was a poll, speaking of that, there was a poll on Twitter this week from the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account. It said, if we made a collector's edition of Sonic Mania, would you buy it? The options were yes, no, or shut up and take my rings.
Good one.
And most people, I think no was only like 26%. And
shut up and take my rings was like...
It was higher than yes, and yes was like 30-something. So yeah, it was like 40, 30, 20-ish. I know that doesn't add up to 100, but...
People are willing to give up a lot of rings for that game.
But yeah, because a lot of people are excited about it. Mm-hmm. Do something like that with Metroid here. You could have... I'm telling you, Axiom Verge, you probably would have upped your sales by 50%. Just by including Samus. And they need to start making these smarter decisions. They're making pretty good decisions now, but they need to be better.